1 month had passed since the Battle of Jupiter. The galaxy had changed forever. The Valari reinforcement fleet never attacked. When they arrived and saw the wreckage of their invasion force, when they learned that Admiral Vorak was dead, they stopped. For 3 days, they waited at the edge of the solar system, uncertain what to do. Then they received new orders from the Valari High Council. Not to attack, not to avenge their fallen, but to negotiate. The message shocked everyone. Valari and human alike. Ambassador Park Do-hyun received the communication in his office on Earth. He read it 3 times to make sure he understood. The Valari Empire wishes to discuss terms of peace. Real peace. He sat back in his chair and laughed. It was a tired laugh, full of relief and disbelief. For the first time in 3 years, the lies were over. The negotiations took place on neutral ground. A space station was built between Earth and Mars, designed by both human and Valari engineers. It was a symbol of what might be possible if 2 species chose cooperation instead of conquest. Do-hyun led the human delegation. He had played the fool for 3 years, smiling and bowing while preparing for war. Now he showed his true face, sharp, intelligent, unforgiving. The Valari delegation was led by High Counselor Drana, an older female with silver robes and tired eyes. She was not like Vorak or Marek. She had always argued against the invasion. She had said humans were more dangerous than they seemed. No one had listened to her then. Now she was the only leader the Valari trusted. "Ambassador Park," she said at their first meeting, "I will not insult you with lies. We tried to destroy your people. We failed. Now we must find another way." Do-hyun nodded. "An honest beginning. I appreciate that. My people are confused," Drana continued. "For thousands of years, we have conquered species weaker than ourselves. It was our way, our nature. We never imagined that anyone could resist us." She paused. "You have forced us to imagine new possibilities." "Good," Do-hyun replied. "Because we have some demands." The negotiations were difficult. Humans wanted guarantees that the Valari would never attack again. They wanted access to Valari technology, openly this time, not through tricks and deception. They wanted a voice in galactic affairs. The Valari resisted many of these demands. Their pride was wounded. They were not used to treating other species as equals. But they had no choice. Their fleet was broken. Their reputation was shattered. Other species in the galaxy were watching, wondering if they too could resist the mighty Valari. In the end, a new treaty was signed. A real treaty. The Valari would share their technology freely with Earth. Humans would join the Galactic Council as a full member, not a servant race. Trade routes would open between Earth and dozens of other worlds. Most importantly, the Valari Empire would never again try to conquer a species without cause. It was not perfect. Many Valari hated the agreement. Many humans did not trust it. But it was a beginning. General Kim Yuna retired from active service after the war. She had done what she needed to do. Now she wanted peace. She returned to her hometown in the mountains of Korea. She bought a small house with a garden where she could grow vegetables and watch the sunrise. She thought she would be bored. She was wrong. Visitors came constantly. Young officers wanting advice. Politicians seeking wisdom. Reporters asking for interviews. She turned most of them away, but some she welcomed. Commander Choi Taiho visited her one spring morning. He was now Admiral Taiho, leader of Earth's expanded fleet. But in her presence, he still felt like a young lieutenant. "General," he said, sitting across from her at a simple wooden table, "the council wants you to return. They need your guidance." Kim smiled and poured him tea. "They have you. They have Do-hyun. They have all the people we trained. My time is finished." "But no," she said firmly but kindly. I fought so that others could live in peace. If I returned to war councils and strategy meetings, what was the point? Let the young lead now. I will watch from here. Taiho nodded slowly. He understood. At least tell me, he said. Was it worth it? All the secrets, all the lies, all the people who died. Kim was quiet for a long moment. She looked out her window at the mountains in the distance. Yes, she finally said. It was worth it. Not because we won, but because we proved something. We proved that humans can face the darkness and survive. We proved that cleverness can defeat strength. We proved that we belong among the stars. She turned back to him. That is worth any price. Lieutenant Han Sujin became famous across Earth. The woman who flew into the heart of the enemy fleet. The woman who destroyed the Valari flagship with nothing but courage and a tiny ship. Songs were written about her. Children pretended to be her in their games. She hated the attention. After the war, she requested a quiet assignment. She became a trainer, teaching new pilots the skills that had saved humanity. She was strict but fair. Her students respected her. Some feared her. All learned from her. One day, a young pilot asked her the question everyone wanted to ask. Lieutenant Han, were you afraid? When you flew toward the flagship, when you knew you might die, were you scared? Sujin thought carefully before answering. Yes, she said. I was terrified. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. I thought about my family, my friends, everything I might lose. Then how did you do it? Sujin looked at the young pilot with serious eyes. Because fear is not the enemy. Giving up is the enemy. You can be afraid and still fight. You can be terrified and still fly forward. That is what makes us human. We feel fear, and we keep going anyway. The young pilot nodded slowly, understanding. Dr. Han Minji continued her work after the war. But now she worked openly, not in secret. Her laboratory became the center of human technological advancement. Scientists from every nation came to learn from her. She shared everything. The secrets of Valari technology, the methods her team had used to adapt it, the failures as well as the successes. She believed that knowledge should not be hidden. We won because we learned, she told a conference of scientists 1 year after the war. We took what the enemy gave us and made it our own. That is what humans do. We learn, we adapt, we improve. That is our greatest weapon. Her words became a motto for the new generation of human scientists and engineers. Ambassador Park Do-hyun served 3 more years in the diplomatic corps. He helped establish humanity's place in galactic society. He met species from 100 different worlds. Some were friendly. Some were hostile. Some were simply strange. Through it all, he carried the lessons of the Valari War. Never trust completely, he told his successors. But never close the door to trust either. The galaxy is full of dangers and opportunities. We must be ready for both. When he finally retired, he wrote a book about his experiences. It became required reading in diplomatic schools across Earth. The title was simple. The peace treaty was a fraud. The book ended with these words. Humanity entered the galactic stage through deception and war. We were forced to lie, to hide, to fight for our survival. But that is not who we must remain. We have proven that we can survive. Now we must prove that we can thrive. Not through conquest, but through wisdom. Not through fear, but through courage. The stars are waiting. Let us reach for them together. 5 years after the war, a monument was built in Earth orbit. It floated in the space where the first battle had been fought. A simple structure of stone and metal, carrying the names of every human who died in the Valari War, at its base. Carved in letters that would last for centuries was an inscription. They came to conquer. We chose to survive. The peace treaty was a fraud, and humanity knew it from the beginning. We remember. We honor. We endure. Ships passed the monument every day. Pilots would slow and salute. Passengers would look out their windows and reflect. Children would ask their parents about the names carved in stone, and somewhere in the vast darkness of space, other species watched Earth with new respect. The humans had arrived. They were not the strongest species. They were not the oldest. They were not the wisest. But they had done what no one else had done. They had faced the mighty Valari and won. The galaxy would never be the same. And humanity? They had learned something important. They had learned that they could stand among the stars, not as servants or victims, but as equals, as survivors, as a people who faced the darkness and chose not to surrender. The peace treaty was a fraud. Humanity had known it from the beginning, and they had been ready. Now, finally, they could look toward a future of their own making, a future written not by fear, but by hope, a future earned through sacrifice and courage. The stars were waiting, and humanity was finally ready to answer. 3 days had passed since the first battle. The Valari survivors had regrouped near Jupiter. 73 ships remained from their mighty fleet. They floated in the darkness, repairing damage and waiting for orders. On the flagship, High Admiral Vorak stared at nothing. His officers moved quietly around him, afraid to speak. The great conqueror had been defeated by creatures he called primitive. The shame was almost worse than death. A communication signal broke the silence. "Admiral, we have received orders from the Valari High Council." Vorak did not move. "What did they say?" "They are sending reinforcements. 100 more ships will arrive in 4 days. We are ordered to hold position and wait." 100 more ships. Combined with his remaining 73, that would give him nearly 170 vessels. Enough to overwhelm the human fleet, even with their stolen technology. "Good," Vorak said softly. "Tell the council we will be ready. The humans surprised us once. It will not happen again." On Earth, General Kim received this news with a grim face. Her spies had intercepted the Valari communication. She knew reinforcements were coming. 100 more ships in 4 days, she told her commanders. "We have 58 vessels remaining. Even with our advantages, those numbers will crush us." The room was silent. Everyone understood the math. They had won the first battle, but they could not win a war of numbers. "We need to end this before reinforcements arrive," Kim said. "We need to destroy the remaining fleet and capture or kill their leadership. Without command, the reinforcements will have no direction." Commander Taiho stepped forward. "I have a plan, General. It is dangerous. Many of us may not return, but it can work." Kim looked at him steadily. "Tell me." Taiho explained his idea. It was bold. It was reckless. It was exactly what the Valari would never expect. Kim listened until the end. Then she nodded slowly. "Do it." 2 days later, the human fleet left Earth orbit. 58 ships moved toward Jupiter, toward the waiting enemy. To the Valari sensors, it looked like a desperate attack, a foolish charge against a stronger force. Admiral Vorak laughed when he saw them coming. "They are insane," he said. "They think one lucky victory makes them warriors. Order all ships to battle positions. This time, we will show them what the Valari Empire truly means." The Valari fleet spread into a wide formation. 73 ships formed a wall of weapons and shields. Behind them, the damaged flagship waited as a final reserve. Vorak was taking no chances. The human fleet approached in a tight formation. They were outnumbered, and they flew straight toward the enemy like arrows seeking a target. "They fly to their deaths," Vorak observed. "Weapons ready. Fire on my command." The distance closed. 10,000 kilometers. 5,000. 2,000. Fire! Vorak commanded. The Valari fleet unleashed everything. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, missile swarms. Thousands of weapons reached toward the human ship's dot, and the human ships scattered. Like a flock of birds avoiding a predator, the tight formation exploded outward. Ships flew in every direction, spinning and twisting in patterns too complex to track. The wall of Valari fire hit mostly empty space. Then the humans struck back, but they did not aim for the ships. They aimed for the gaps between ships. Hundreds of small objects launched from the human vessels. They were not weapons. They were mines. Thousands of mines spreading through the Valari formation like seeds in the wind. The mines found their targets. They attached to Valari hulls. They slipped through shield gaps. They wedged into weapon ports and engine vents. Then they exploded. The Valari fleet became chaos. Ships lost control as explosions damaged their systems. Some crashed into each other. Others drifted helplessly as their engines died. Through this confusion, a single human ship flew straight toward the flagship. Lieutenant Han Soo-jin sat in the pilot's seat of the Arrow. It was the smallest ship in the human fleet, designed for speed above all else. Its weapons were weak. Its shields were thin. But it was fast. Incredibly, impossibly fast. All systems at maximum, she reported to Commander Taiho. Beginning attack run. The Arrow shot through the Valari formation like a needle through cloth. Enemy weapons tried to track it, but it moved too quickly. It dodged and weaved between exploding ships and floating debris. Ahead, the Valari flagship waited. It was the largest ship in their fleet. Its shields were the strongest. Its weapons were the deadliest. And on its bridge stood Admiral Vorak, the conqueror of 11 worlds. "Stop that ship!" Vorak screamed. "All weapons, target that vessel." Every gun on the flagship turned toward the Arrow. Hundreds of weapons locked onto the tiny craft. In seconds, they would fire. In seconds, Soo-jin would die. She smiled. Project Thunder, activate. On the Arrow's hull, hidden panels opened. Inside were devices created by Dr. Minji's team. They had taken Valari shield technology and reversed it. Instead of blocking energy, these devices absorbed it. The flagship fired. Enough power to destroy a small moon hit the Arrow, and the Arrow absorbed it all. The ship glowed with captured energy. Its hull turned white hot. Warning alarms screamed. But Soo-jin kept flying, straight toward the flagship's bridge. Energy absorption at maximum, her computer reported. Hull integrity failing. 30 seconds to destruction. 30 seconds. That was all she needed. The Arrow reached the flagship. It flew along the massive hull, seeking its target. The Valari fired again and again, but each shot only added more power to the tiny ship. Soo-jin found what she was looking for. The flagship's main shield generator. A massive structure on the ship's spine, protected by layers of armor. "Commander Taiho," she said calmly. "Target acquired." Releasing payload. She pressed the button. All the energy the Arrow had absorbed released at once. Not as an explosion, but as a focused beam of pure power. It hit the shield generator and kept going, burning through armor, through machinery, through everything. The flagship's shields failed. "All ships," Taiho commanded. "Target the flagship. Everything you have." The human fleet turned as one. Every weapon aimed at the now defenseless flagship. Pulse cannons, plasma missiles, nuclear torpedoes, everything. On the bridge, Admiral Vorak watched death approach. "Impossible," he whispered. "We are the Valari. We cannot be defeated by these animals." The weapons hit. The flagship broke apart in a cascade of explosions. The great ship that had conquered 11 Worlds became nothing but burning wreckage and floating debris. Admiral Vorak died without understanding how he had lost. Lieutenant Sujin watched from the Arrow, now drifting powerlessly. Her ship had given everything to that final attack. The engines were dead. Life support was failing. But she was still alive. Arrow to fleet, she reported. Mission successful. Flagship destroyed. Requesting pickup. On our way, Taiho replied. Well done, Lieutenant. Humanity owes you a debt. The battle continued for 2 more hours. Without their admiral, without their flagship, the Valari lost their will to fight. Some ships surrendered. Others tried to flee but were hunted down. A few fought to the death, refusing to accept defeat. By the end, only 11 Valari ships remained. They floated together, shields down, weapons silent, waiting for the end. Commander Taiho broadcast a message to them. Valari vessels. This is Commander Choi Taiho of the United Earth Fleet. Your admiral is dead. Your fleet is destroyed. Surrender now, and you will be treated with honor. Continue fighting, and you will be destroyed. Choose. For a long moment, there was no response. Then, slowly, the Valari ships began powering down their remaining weapons. White lights appeared on their hulls. The signal of surrender. Taiho let out a breath. He did not know he was holding in the distance. The reinforcement fleet was still 2 days away. But they no longer mattered. The Valari leadership was dead or captured. The invasion force was broken. Earth was safe. He opened a channel to General Kim. General, the battle is won. Enemy fleet destroyed or surrendered. Admiral Vorak is confirmed dead. Kim's response came with rare emotion in her voice. Excellent work, Commander. All of you, come home. On the Arrow, rescue ships were arriving to save Lieutenant Sujin. She watched through her cracked viewport as human vessels surrounded her. Faces appeared in the windows, smiling and cheering. She thought about the years of preparation, the secrets kept, the sacrifices made, all leading to this moment. The reckoning had come, and humanity had delivered it. But in her heart, she knew the work was not finished. There would be consequences for this day. The Valari Empire would not forget. Other alien species would hear about Earth. The galaxy was watching. For now, though, she allowed herself to rest. The battle was over. They had won. Tomorrow, they would think about what came next. The day started like any other. The sun rose over Earth's cities. People went to work and school. Children played in parks. Couples walked hand in hand. No one knew that everything was about to change. In orbit around Earth, 3 Valari science ships floated peacefully. They had been there for months, helping humanity learn about space. Human shuttles visited them every day. Everything seemed normal. At exactly 8:47 in the morning, Earth's deep space sensors detected something. At first, it was just a strange reading. Then the readings got stronger. Then the operators understood what they were seeing. 212 Valari warships had just appeared at the edge of the solar system. The invasion had begun. On the Valari flagship, High Admiral Vorak stood before his command screen. He was old for a Valari, with pale blue skin that had turned almost white with age. He had conquered 11 worlds in his long career. Earth would be his 12th. All ships report ready, his second officer announced. The humans have detected us. Vorak smiled his sharp-toothed smile. Of course they have. Let them panic. Let them beg for mercy. It will make no difference. He pressed a button on his console. A message began broadcasting to Earth on all frequencies. People of Earth, this is High Admiral Vorak of the Valari Empire. Your peace treaty was a gift we gave you. A chance to enjoy your final years in comfort. Now that time is over. Surrender your planet, and we will be merciful. Resist, and you will be destroyed. You have 1 hour to respond. Across Earth, panic spread. People ran through streets screaming. Governments broadcast emergency messages. Military forces scrambled to action. At least that was what the Valari expected. What actually happened was very different. In Base Omega, General Kim received the message with a calm face. Around her, officers moved with practiced efficiency. There was no panic, no fear, only focus. Signal received, reported Lieutenant Taiho. Valari fleet is exactly where we predicted. They will reach Earth orbit in 6 hours. Kim nodded. Begin protocol. Dawn. Across the world, hidden bases came alive. Underground hangar doors opened in mountains and deserts. Ships that had been hidden for years rose into the sky. 87 warships, built in secret, joined formation above Earth's atmosphere. Commander Taiho led the fleet from his ship, the Hammer. It was not the biggest ship, but it was fast and deadly. Around him, other ships fell into position. The Spear, the Thunder, the Storm, each one named for weapons of war. All ships, check in, Taiho commanded. One by one, the ship captains responded. Pilots who had trained for 3 years were finally ready to fight. Engineers who had built these machines in darkness were watching from below. Scientists who had stolen every Valari secret were praying their work was good enough. On the Valari flagship, Admiral Vorak frowned at his sensors. Report, he demanded. What am I seeing? His officer looked confused. Sir, the humans have launched ships. Almost 90 vessels. Impossible. Our spies reported only 12 small defense craft. These are not small, sir. They appear to be full warships. And their design. It looks almost like our own technology. Vorak felt something he had not felt in many years. Uncertainty. It changes nothing, he said loudly, hiding his doubt. We have over 200 ships. They have less than 100. Order the fleet to attack formation. We will crush them with numbers. The Valari fleet moved like a wave of death toward Earth. 212 warships, each one bristling with weapons. Their shields glowed with power. Their crews were experienced conquerors. They had never lost a battle, but they had never fought humans. Commander, Taiho watched the enemy fleet approach on his screen. His heart beat fast, but his hands were steady. Remember your training, he said over the fleet channel. They are bigger. They are more numerous, but they do not know what we can do. Today, we show them. Today, we teach them fear. The two fleets met in the space between Mars and Earth. The Valari fired first. Massive energy beams shot across the darkness of space. They expected human shields to fall instantly. They expected ships to explode like toys. Instead, the human ships dodged. They moved faster than the Valari thought possible. Their formation split and reformed like water flowing around rocks. The energy beams hit empty space. Then the humans fired back. The pulse cannons worked exactly as Dr. Minji had promised. They fired in rapid bursts, dozens of shots per second. The first few shots hit Valari shields and bounced off. But the timing was perfect. When the shields cycled, when that tiny gap appeared, the human weapons slipped through. The first Valari ship exploded in a ball of fire. On the flagship, Admiral Vorak stared in disbelief. How? He whispered. They should not have weapons that can pierce our shields. But there was no time for questions. More Valari ships were taking damage. Human fighters swarmed around the larger vessels like angry bees. They were small and hard to hit, and their weapons found every weakness. All ships full attack. Vorak screamed. Destroy them. Destroy them all. The battle became chaos. Ships flew in every direction. Weapons fired constantly. Explosions lit up the darkness. Both sides took damage, but the Valari were losing more. Commander Taiho led his ship through the heart of the enemy fleet. His pilot, a young woman named Jang Somi, flew like she was born in space. She dodged enemy fire by inches. She put them in perfect position again and again. "Target the command ships," Taiho ordered. "Break their coordination." The human fleet focused on the Valari leaders. One by one, the command ships fell. Without orders, the Valari attack became confused. Ships crashed into each other. Formations fell apart, but the Valari still had numbers. For every ship they lost, 3 more kept fighting. Human ships began taking damage too. The Thunder was destroyed by concentrated fire. The Storm lost its engines and drifted helplessly. "We are losing too many ships," reported Taiho's first officer. "At this rate, we will run out of vessels before they do." Taiho nodded grimly. "Then it is time for Project Silence." He pressed a button on his console. A single coded signal went out to the Valari fleet. On 14 Valari ships, hidden devices activated. These devices had been placed by human visitors during friendship missions. They had sat dormant for years, waiting for this moment. Now they woke up. The devices did not explode. They did something worse. They sent signals directly into the Valari computer systems. Viruses designed by the best human programmers began eating through Valari code like acid. On the flagship, alarms started screaming. "Sir, we have lost navigation. Weapons are not responding. Shields are failing on decks 4 through 12. What is happening?" Lorak demanded. No one could answer. The virus spread from ship to ship through their communication networks. The same systems that let them coordinate attacks now carried their doom dot across the Valari fleet. Ships went dark. Weapons stopped firing. Shields dropped. Some ships drifted helplessly. Others crashed into their neighbors. Commander Taiho saw his opportunity. "All ships, attack now. Full assault. Leave nothing standing." The human fleet surged forward like a fist of fire. They hit the confused Valari with everything they had. Ships that could not defend themselves were destroyed without mercy. Ships that tried to flee were hunted down. The battle had turned. Admiral Vorak watched his fleet die around him. In 3 hours, he had lost over 100 ships. The humans had lost less than 30. It was impossible. It should not be happening. "Retreat," he finally ordered. "All ships capable of movement, retreat to safe distance." The Valari survivors fled. Broken and burning, they ran from the planet they had come to conquer. On Earth, people looked up at the sky. They could see flashes of light where the battle raged. They did not know what was happening, but they felt something in their hearts. Hope. Commander Taiho stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the enemy run. His crew cheered and hugged each other. They had done the impossible, but Taiho did not smile. The battle was won, but the war was not over. Over 70 Valari ships had escaped. They would regroup. They would call for help. This was just the beginning. He opened a channel to General Kim on Earth. "General, enemy fleet is retreating. First battle is ours." Kim's voice came back, calm as always. "Well done, Commander. But stay alert. The hardest part is still coming." Taiho nodded, though she could not see him. "Yes, General. We know." In the silence of space, surrounded by the wreckage of enemy ships, humanity had won its first victory. The betrayal had come, just as they had expected, and humanity had been ready. 6 months had passed since the signing of the peace treaty. On the surface, everything seemed wonderful. Humans and Valari worked together on many projects. Valari technology helped build new hospitals and power plants. Human scientists visited Valari ships to learn about space travel. The news showed happy stories of cooperation and friendship. Beneath the surface, in places no camera could see, humanity was preparing for war. General Kim Yuna, stood in the command center of Base Omega. It was built 3 miles underground, in a mountain far from any city. The walls were thick concrete and steel. No signal could get in or out unless Kim allowed it. This was where the real work happened. Around her, hundreds of people worked at computer screens. Maps and charts covered the walls. In one corner, engineers argued about ship designs. In another, scientists studied pieces of Valari technology. Everyone moved with purpose. Everyone knew what was at stake. "General," a young officer said, walking up to her. It was Lieutenant Choi Taiho, the man who had first cracked the Valari communications. "The new intercepted messages are ready for your review." Kim nodded and followed him to a private room. On the screen, rows of alien text scrolled past. Next to each line was the human translation. "They still think we are fools," Taiho said. "Look at this message from their military commander. He calls us soft creatures with weak minds. He says conquering Earth will be their easiest victory." Kim read the message with cold eyes. "Good. Let them think that. What about their fleet? Growing faster than expected. They have 60 large warships now. By our estimates, they will have over 200 when they attack. 200 warships. Each one was bigger than anything humans had ever built. Each one carried weapons that could destroy cities in seconds. Against such a force, Earth's small defense fleet would be like insects against a giant. But Kim was not worried. She had a plan. "Show me the progress on Project Thunder," she said. Taiho pressed some buttons and the screen changed. It showed images of massive underground factories. Inside, workers in protective suits assembled strange machines. They were building ships, but not like any ships humans had made before. These ships were different. They used technology stolen from the Valari themselves. Every time the Valari shared their knowledge with humans, they held back the important parts. They gave humans medical technology, but not weapons. They shared basic science, but not military secrets. They thought they were being careful, but they underestimated human cleverness. Dr. Han Minji was the leader of the science team. She was a small woman with thick glasses and messy hair. She looked like a harmless professor, but her mind was sharper than any blade. When the Valari gave humans their technology, they expected humans to simply use it. Instead, Minji and her team took everything apart. They studied every piece. They asked questions the Valari did not expect. They pretended to be confused and stupid, and the Valari explained things they should have kept secret. Piece by piece, Minji learned how Valari weapons worked. She learned about their shields. She learned about their engines. And she learned about their weaknesses. Their shields are strong against energy weapons, she explained to Kim during one secret meeting. But they have a flaw. They cycle power in patterns. For a tiny moment, about 1/10 of a second, there is a gap. If we can hit that gap, we can get through. Kim nodded. Can we build weapons fast enough to hit that gap? Minji smiled. We already have. I call them pulse cannons. They fire in rapid bursts designed to match the shield cycle. Testing shows 90% success rate. This was how humanity prepared. Every gift the Valari gave, humans turned into a weapon. Every piece of knowledge became ammunition. The aliens thought they were preparing cattle for slaughter. They did not realize they were training wolves. Ambassador Park Do-yoon played his part perfectly. He visited Valari ships often. He brought gifts and kind words. He asked naive questions that made the Valari laugh. Your ships are so amazing, he would say with wide eyes. How do they move so fast? How do your shields work? I wish I could understand such advanced things. The Valari loved to show off. They loved explaining their superiority to the simple human. They did not notice that Do-yoon wore a small device under his collar. It recorded everything. Every word, every image, every detail. Later, those recordings would go to Dr. Minji's team. They would study them for weeks, finding every secret the Valari accidentally revealed. Meanwhile, the secret shipyards worked day and night. 12 facilities were hidden around the world. Some were underground. Some were beneath the ocean. Some were disguised as mining operations or power plants. All of them built weapons. Commander Choi Taio was put in charge of training the new fleet. He chose pilots from every nation on Earth. They had to be the best of the best. Fast thinkers. Brave hearts. People who could keep secrets and follow orders. The training was brutal. Pilots flew simulation after simulation. They learned to fight against enemies with better technology. They learned to use speed and cleverness against raw power. Many failed. Only the best remained. Remember, Taiho told his pilots, the Valari expect easy prey. They expect us to run and hide. We will not give them what they expect. We will give them nightmares. 2 years passed. The peace continued on the surface. More cooperation. More friendship. More lies. The Valari ambassador visited Earth often. He praised human progress. He talked about the wonderful future both species would share. He smiled his cold smile and shook hands with human leaders. He never noticed that those leaders had changed. The original council members who knew the secret had brought in others. Now hundreds of people were part of the plan. Military officers, scientists, engineers, factory workers. All of them sworn to secrecy. All of them working toward one goal. The intercepted Valari messages continued to come. The alien fleet was almost ready. 180 warships now waited in their home system. Soon they would have 200. Then they would attack. 6 months, Kim said to her commanders. That is how much time we have left. Are we ready? The answers came quickly. 54 warships complete, reported the head of construction. Another 30 will be ready in 4 months. Weapon systems fully operational, said Dr. Minji. Pulse cannons, plasma missiles, and the new shield breakers are all in production. Pilots trained and ready, added Commander Taiho. 5,000 crew members prepared for combat. Kim looked at the reports. It was not enough. 84 ships against 200. Even with better weapons, the numbers were bad. But she had one more card to play. What about Project Silence? She asked. The room went quiet. Project Silence was the most secret plan of all. Only 12 people knew about it. Dr. Minji stepped forward. Ready for deployment. We have placed the devices on 14 Valari ships during our friendship visits. They will never know until it is too late. Kim allowed herself a small smile. The Valari thought they were clever. They thought they were setting a trap for foolish humans. They did not realize that humans had set their own trap. For 3 years, humanity had smiled and bowed and played the fool. For 3 years, they had worked in secret and prepared for the storm. The Valari had given them time to prepare, thinking humans would waste it. They were wrong. The peace treaty was a fraud, and humanity had known it from the beginning. But the Valari were about to learn that humans could play the deception game too. And humans played to win. In her office that night, General Kim looked at a photograph on her desk. It showed her grandmother, a woman who had survived a great war long ago. Her grandmother always said the same thing. The enemy sees what they want to see. Let them. Then show them the truth. Kim touched the photograph gently. We are ready, grandmother, she whispered. The truth is coming. Outside, the stars shone in the dark sky. Somewhere out there, the Valari fleet was gathering. They thought they were coming to conquer a weak planet. They had no idea what was waiting for them. The Grand Hall of the United Earth Council was filled with cameras and reporters. Lights flashed everywhere. Important people from every country on Earth sat in their seats, watching the stage with serious faces. This was the biggest day in human history. Today, humanity would sign its first peace treaty with an alien species. Ambassador Park Do-hyun walked slowly to the large table in the center of the stage. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had spent 30 years working in diplomacy. He had solved conflicts between nations. He had stopped wars before they started. But nothing had prepared him for this moment. On the other side of the table stood the Valari delegation. They were tall creatures, almost 7 feet high. Their skin was pale blue, and their eyes were large and black like deep pools of ink. They had no hair on their heads, and their fingers were long and thin. When they smiled, their teeth were sharp and white. The leader of the Valari was called High Counselor Maruk. He wore robes of silver and gold. Around his neck hung symbols of his rank. He looked at Do-hyun with what seemed like friendship, but there was something cold behind those black eyes. "Ambassador Park," Maruk said in perfect English. The Valari had learned human languages very quickly. "This is a great day for both our peoples. Today, we end the fear between us. Today, we begin a new chapter of peace and cooperation." Do-hyun nodded and smiled. "Indeed, High Counselor. Humanity is honored to call the Valari our friends." The words felt like poison in his mouth, but he said them anyway. He had to. 3 years ago, the Valari ships had appeared in Earth's solar system. At first, there was panic. Humans had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now, they knew the answer. They were not alone, and the neighbors had come to visit. The Valari said they came in peace. They said they wanted to trade and share knowledge. They offered technology that could cure diseases and solve the energy crisis. They seemed like a gift from the heavens, but some people were suspicious. General Kim Yuna was one of them. She sat in the audience now, wearing her military uniform. Her face showed nothing. She clapped when everyone else clapped. She smiled when everyone else smiled. But inside, she was counting the days. 6 months after the Valari arrived, her intelligence team had made a breakthrough. A young officer named Lieutenant Choi Tae-ho had found a way to intercept Valari communications. It was not easy. The alien signals were complex and strange. But Tae-ho was brilliant with computers. He worked for weeks without sleep. And finally, he cracked their code. What they found changed everything. The Valari were not peaceful visitors. They were conquerors. They had done this before, many times, to many worlds. They would arrive at a planet, pretend to be friendly, and offer gifts. They would learn about the species they met. They would find their weaknesses. And then, when the time was right, they would attack. The messages were clear. The Valari High Command was building a massive invasion fleet. It would take them 3 to 4 years to gather enough ships. Until then, they needed to keep the humans calm and trusting. The peace treaty was just a tool. It was a way to make humans feel safe while the Valari prepared to destroy them. When General Kim read the translated messages, she felt cold fear in her heart. Then the fear turned to anger. And then the anger turned to something else. Something harder. Something like Steel Dot. She took the information to the World Council in secret. Only 12 people knew the truth. They met in underground rooms with no windows. They spoke in whispers. They made plans. The decision was difficult. Some wanted to reveal the truth to the world. They wanted to prepare openly for war. But others disagreed. If humanity showed that they knew the Valari secret, the aliens might attack immediately. Humans were not ready. They needed time, so they decided to play along. They would sign the treaty. They would smile and shake hands. They would pretend to be foolish and trusting. And while the Valari thought they were winning, humanity would prepare in secret. Ambassador Do-hyun was chosen for this role because he was the best actor among them. He could lie with a straight face. He could shake hands with the enemy and make them believe he was their friend. Now, standing at the table, he picked up the special pen. The treaty document was long and full of beautiful words about peace and friendship. Every word was a lie. Both sides knew it. But only one side knew that the other side also knew. Do-yoon pressed his thumb to the document, leaving his print. Then he signed his name in careful letters. The cameras flashed. The audience clapped. High Counselor Marek did the same. His thin fingers moved smoothly across the paper. When he finished, he looked at Do-yoon with those cold black eyes. "It is done," Marek said. "Our peoples are now united in peace." "Yes," Do-yoon replied. "United in peace." They shook hands. Marek's skin felt cold and dry, like touching a snake. Do-yoon kept smiling. In the audience, General Kim watched without expression. In her pocket, her phone buzzed quietly. It was a message from Lieutenant Taiho. New transmission intercepted. Valari fleet construction ahead of schedule. Estimate 3 years until full strength. 3 years. That was all the time humanity had. Kim looked at the stage where Do-yoon was posing for photographs with the Valari. The ambassador caught her eye for just a moment. A tiny nod passed between them. A secret understanding. The game had begun. After the ceremony, there was a grand celebration. Music played. Food was served. Humans and Valari mingled together, talking and laughing. The Valari seemed curious about human culture. They asked questions about art, music, and history. They seemed so friendly. Do-yoon moved through the crowd, playing his role perfectly. He introduced the Valari to important people. He told jokes and made them laugh. He was the perfect host, but in his mind, he was thinking about the secret meeting that would happen later tonight. In a bunker deep beneath the city, the 12 leaders would gather. They would review the plans. They would check the progress of the secret shipyards. They would discuss the new weapons being developed. The Valari thought they were so clever. They thought humans were primitive and easy to fool. They had conquered dozens of species this way. They had never failed, that they had never met humans before. Humans were good at many things. They were good at building. They were good at fighting. But most of all, they were good at surviving. For thousands of years, humans had faced extinction again and again. Ice ages, plagues, wars, disasters. Every time, they found a way to survive. This would be no different. As the party continued around him, Do-yoon raised his glass in a toast. "To peace," he said loudly. "To friendship between our peoples." The Valari raised their glasses too, their sharp teeth gleaming in the light. "To peace," they repeated. But in the shadows of his mind, Do-yoon whispered different words. "To humanity. May we survive what is coming." The peace treaty was signed. The fraud had begun, and humanity was counting the days.